All right, today we're going to read an excerpt from Always Running La Vida Loca Gang Days in LA, written by Luis J. Rodriguez. All right, if you like this book, I think we have a copy in the library, so it would be the whole story of his experience growing up in Los Angeles. So as we read, we're going to chunk, summarize, and question, and we're also going to work on vocabulary words that we don't know and using our context clues in order to figure those out. So if I write it on here, you're going to need to write it on your sheet. I'm going to do the first half for you, and you'll do the second half yourself in your paper. It was a warm September day when my mother pulled me out of bed, handed me a pair of pants and a shirt, a piece of burnt toast, and dragged me by the arm towards 109th Street School. We approached a huge, dusty brick building with the school's name carved in ancient English lettering across the entrance. Mama hauled me up a row of steps and through two large doors. First day of school. I was 6 years old, never having gone to kindergarten, because Mama wanted me to wait until my sister became old enough to enter school. Mama filled out some papers. A school monitor directed us to a classroom where Mama dropped me off and left to join some parents who gathered in the main hall. The first day of school said a lot about my scholastic life to come. I want to go ahead and pause here and figure out what scholastic means. So I'm going to look at some of the context clues that I see here. I see that first day of school, so I see this word school, scholastic life to come, right? So it's coming in the future, and here it is now. So I really think scholastic maybe has something to do with school, and in fact it does. So the word scholastic just means school. I was taken to a teacher who didn't know what to do with me. She complained about not having any room, about kids who didn't even speak the language, and how was she supposed to teach anything under these conditions? Although I didn't speak English, I understood a large part of what she was saying. I knew I wasn't wanted. She put me in an old, creaky chair near the door. As soon as I could, I sneaked out to find my mother. One line that really sticks out to me is I knew I wasn't wanted. Right? I think that helps us understand kind of the summary here. All right, so what I see happening here, if I'm going to summarize this, I think that this is about his first day of elementary school. Remember, you should be writing this down. Made him feel unwanted. All right. Because this teacher wasn't very kind to him. She saw him as like a burden, right? Something that she didn't want to have to deal with. And so that sets up, as he says up here, or as he mentioned to us up here, right? This said a lot about his scholastic life to come. So if what he's saying here is his first day of elementary school made him feel unwanted because his teacher was unkind, and that says a lot about what's going to happen in the future, that makes me think he probably doesn't feel very welcome in school ever. All right, so think to yourself if you know what that feels like to be in a classroom or a school where you feel like the teacher or the adults in there don't want you to be there. Does that make you feel motivated, or how does that make you feel? That's how he's feeling right now. So the question that I want to ask to myself here, I want to know what was up with this teacher, right? Like, why was the teacher so rude? That's my first question. Then my second question, I kind of want to know, did he ever get a good teacher? Now, if you have a question, go ahead and ask that too. All right, for the next chunk. I found my older brother Reno's class with the mentally disabled children instead and decided to stay there for a while. Actually, it was fun. They treated me like I was everyone's little brother, but the teacher finally told a student to take me to the main hall. After some more paperwork, I was taken to another class. This time the teacher appeared nice but distracted. She got the word about my language problem. Okay, why don't you sit here in the back of the class, she said. Play with some blocks until we figure out how to get you more involved. It took her most of the year to figure this out. I just stayed in the back of the class, building blocks. It got so every morning I would put my lunch and coat away, walk to my corner where I stayed the whole day long. It forced me to be more withdrawn. It got so bad I didn't even tell anybody when I had to go to the bathroom. I did it in my pants. Soon I stunk back there in the corner, and the rest of the kids screamed a chorus of gross, which resulted in my being sent to the office or back home. There's a couple lines here that really stand out to me that I want us to mark. It forced me to be more withdrawn, right? To walk to my corner, right? This idea, I picture him here standing kind of like in a corner by himself. And so to be withdrawn means that he isn't very social, that he kind of just stays to himself, which is why he ends up peeing in his pants, right? Because he doesn't know anyone. No one talks to him. He doesn't feel like he has a place in that classroom to kind of advocate for himself. So if I'm summarizing this, these lines really help me see that his teachers continue to ignore him. And make him feel alone and unwanted. Now you might say, but you didn't put anything about him peeing in his pants. I don't think that's what it's mostly about. Right? I think that's a consequence of the fact that he felt really alone and unwanted, like he couldn't even say to his teacher he needed to go to the bathroom. So the question that maybe we want to ask ourselves is, why does he pee his pants? And again, I think the answer to that is he's afraid. He's afraid to talk to the teacher. He doesn't want to be a burden. He just wants to stay in his corner because that's kind of what he feels like he's being told to do, right? Other questions that I have, like, why is this teacher so distracted? It's set up at the beginning that she was just nice but distracted. Okay, so those are the questions I have for this section. All right, I'm going to read the next section, but you're actually going to do the summary and question yourself. I'm going to stop to help you figure out 2 words, integrate and promptly, and we'll use some context clues there to figure out what it means. But you need to be prepared to summarize this section and ask questions that help you understand it better. In those days, there was no way to integrate the non-English speaking children. Okay, so they just made it a crime to speak anything but English. There aren't a lot of great context clues here, so I want us to use our word parts. I know that in often means inside, so to integrate non-English speaking children. So maybe it means to bring them together, right, with the other students or put them inside the classroom, and that's really is what it means. So integrate means to merge together. So where someone who doesn't speak English would be in the same classroom as someone who does. If a Spanish word sneaked out in the playground, kids were often sent to the office to get swatted or to get detention. Teachers complained that maybe children were saying bad things about them. An assumption of guilt was enough to get one punished. A day came when I finally built up the courage to tell the teacher I had to go to the bathroom. I didn't quite say all the words, but she got the message and promptly excused me, so I didn't do it while I was trying to explain. This one has a little bit better context clues in it. All right. So if she's going to excuse him, so I didn't do it while I was trying to explain. All right. She doesn't want him to pee in his pants. I know that. She's kind of getting the hint. So I think promptly means quickly. She's like, quick, go to the bathroom, right? Don't pee on yourself. And I know that because I'm a teacher and I wouldn't want a kid to pee on himself. And so it says here, so he wouldn't do it while he was trying to explain. So promptly, using my context clues there, means quickly. I ran to the bathroom and peed and felt so good about not having wetness trickle down my pants legs. But suddenly, several bells went on and off. I hesitantly stepped out of the bathroom and saw throngs of children leave their classes. I had no idea what was happening. I went to my classroom and it stood empty. I'm going to pause here and think. I see several bells went on and off. This happened just the other day at Pearl. I didn't know what was happening. Classes are empty. Everyone had left. All right. So I'm thinking to myself, this is probably a fire drill, right? If the lights and bells are going off and everybody leaves their class. I looked into other classes and found nothing. Nobody. I didn't know what to do. I really thought everyone had gone home. I didn't bother to look at the playground where the whole school had been assembled for the fire drill. I just went home. It got to be a regular thing there for a while, me coming home early until I learned the ins and outs of school life. Not speaking well made for such embarrassing moments. I hardly asked questions. I just didn't want to be misunderstood. Many Spanish-speaking kids mangled things like where the beer and the cantaloupe roam instead of where the deer and the antelope roam. That's the way it was with me. I mixed up all the words, screwed up all the songs. All right. So I want you to figure out, what is this mostly about? All right. There's a lot of different little ideas, but over here to the side, go ahead and write your summary of this chunk and ask at least one good question. And I want you to maybe ask a question about how he's feeling. If you can think to yourself how he feels or why he does certain things. So think about his actions or his feelings and see if you can ask a question about his actions or his feelings. Pause the video until you're done with those parts, and then we're going to move on with the last section of the text. We didn't call ourselves gangs. We called ourselves clubs or cliques. In the back lot of the local elementary school, about a year after Tino's death, 5 of us gathered in the grass and created a club. The impersonations, the being an old English usage that other clubs would adopt because it made everything sound classier, nobler, or badder. It was something to belong to, something that was ours. We weren't in Boy Scouts, in sports teams, or in music groups. The impersonations is how we wove something out of the threads of nothing. We started the impersonations because we needed protection. I feel like maybe that's an idea that's important. I feel like that's a line that's important when you're thinking about what this means. It started one day, the school during lunch break. A few of us guys were standing around talking to some girls we were beginning to see as women. They had makeup and short skirts. They had teased hair and menstruations, which just means they had their periods. They grew breasts. They were no longer Yolanda, Guadalupe, or Maria. They were Yoli, Lupe, and Mari. Some of the boys were still in grass-stained jeans with knee patches and had only begun to change themselves. The girls flowered over the summer, and it looked near impossible for some of us to catch up. Older dudes from junior high, or even some who didn't go to school, would come to the school and give us chilled looks as they scoped the young women. That day, a caravan of low scraping cars slow dragged in front of the school. All right, let's go ahead and pause, and I'm going to teach you a new strategy called a word association map. So I'm going to put the word caravan over here. Go ahead and do that too. Okay, and then circle it. That is terrible handwriting. I apologize. So I'm going to go ahead and think, what are the associations I make? I automatically see the word car. I see the word van. All right, caravan. I think there's actually like a minivan called a Dodge Caravan, so I'm going to put Dodge here because I'm pretty sure I've seen that. When I look at this sentence, I see this low scraping cars. All right, so I see cars plural, more than one car, like so. That's 2 or more. with a plus sign. A crew of mean-looking vados piled out, right? So I think a caravan has to do something with like a lot of cars, right? This isn't going to make sense that this is not like, if these are low scraping cars, these are not minivans, right? So it's not a Dodge Caravan, right? That's not what it's about, right? So I think it's going to be multiple cars. And in fact, that's what caravan means. It just means a group of cars. So a word association web is one way you can look at words in context and figure out what they mean. A caravan of low scraping cars slow dragged in front of the school. A crew of mean-looking vados piled out, armed with chains, bats, metal pipes, and zip guns. The Mystics own this land, one of them yelled from the other side of the school fence. The Mystics were a tough-up-and-coming group. They fired their rigged .22s at the school and broke a couple of windows with stones. They rammed through the gate and front entrances. Several not-so-swift dudes who stood in their way got beat. Even teachers ran for cover. Terror filled everyone's eyes. I froze as the head stomping came dangerously my way, but I was also intrigued. Intrigued means curious. I wanted this power. I wanted to be able to bring a whole school to its knees and even make the teachers squirm. All my life until then had been poised against me, telling me what to be, what to say, how to say it. I was a broken boy, shy and fearful. I wanted what the Mystics had. I wanted the power to hurt someone else. Police sirens broke the spell, dudes scattered in all directions, but the Mystics had done their damage. They had left their mark on the school and on me. All right. Again, this is a pretty big chunk. All right. So if you need to make this into two chunks, like this first part about the girls growing up and then the second part about the gang, you can. But I want you to go ahead and summarize. What's the big idea here? And then give me a couple of questions, all right? I really want you to think about questions here about his desires. What is it that he wants and why does he want it? So ask some questions about what he wants and why he wants it. Once you finish that, you're going to take out your graphic organizer on the back of your note sheet and complete your somebody wanted but so chart. Your somebody wanted but so. So figure out who is the somebody in the story, what does he want, what gets in his way, so what does he do? All right, and then when you finish that, you can move on to your mem beam.